Hi, I'm Michelle Hawko, sales representative from Remax Real Estate Center. This morning, I'm here to talk to you about something that has been coming up more and more. It's always been a topic that we talk about quite a bit in the real estate industry, but based on the last 3 years being quite a roller coaster for people, interest rates increasing like crazy in 2022, the cost of everything has gone up, and people are struggling a little bit with cash flow, and they are accumulating more debt than they're used to carrying. So today I have with me Kim Boehlke from Premier Mortgages. She's a mortgage agent with Team Finance Flow, and she's going to talk to us a little bit more about refinancing, ways to consolidate debt, ways to actually get ahead of this problem instead of digging yourself a deeper hole. There's so much shame around this topic, and if people would put the shame aside and actually speak to somebody who can help, who knows what they're doing, they're going to come out much further ahead in the end. So thank you so much for coming to talk with me and have a coffee with me this morning. Kim, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, Michelle. It's always great to work with such an experienced and professional real estate agent. And yes, this topic is coming a lot. I'm getting calls as well. So let's talk about it at a basic level, refinancing. The first thing you have to figure out is how much your home is worth. And that's where you come in as the expert. So say, for example, your home is worth $850,000. You can access up to 80% of that home equity. So that would be 80% of 850,000 is 680,000. If your mortgage is 400,000, then that means 680 minus 400 you could access for other purposes $280,000.
Yeah, this is amazing because people will actually want to do refinance for several different reasons. I know over the last several years, people have been wanting to refinance or access money from their homes to do renovations and things like that to improve them, being home so much, that is. And now, unfortunately, this year, some of those choices people are paying the price for because the interest rates have increased. But okay, so what do you feel like the best strategy is if you have a bunch of debt piling up and you need to deal with it?
Okay, so it can get a little bit complicated. And the reason why is because there are mortgages in first position and mortgages in second position. There are what you're used to as a plain mortgage that's amortized over a number of years, and there are home equity lines of credit. There is prime lending, A lending, what most of us are used to, and there is alternative lending. And then in alternative lending, there's alternative lending that's very much like A lending that you're used to. And then there's alternative lending that is, as you mentioned, can be even predatory or just something you want to avoid. You definitely have to have a solid exit strategy for it.
Amazing. So maybe it would be helpful if we actually went through a few scenarios of types of files that you've looked at and how it's actually helped people, because I know that the need for this is vast, but how it's applied to different people based on their current situation is a little bit different.
Yes. So as you mentioned, there can be shame associated when you have a lot of debt to consolidate. And people start doing their research on the internet, which is usually very helpful. But in this case, it's really not, because you don't know how lenders are going to look at your file. I had a friend who had a lot of debt because she had gone back to school, and she felt really terrible about their situation. But when I actually was able to look at their credit and their file, they really weren't that bad. And she had been looking on the internet at terrible alternative lenders that she didn't need to consider. And we were able to refinance everything with a prime lender, one mortgage payment, and greatly increase their cash flow. So you need that perspective from a professional.
Yeah, I think so too, because, you know, as mentioned, all the situations are so different. And then, you know, like you can recover, right? People are like, oh, I don't want to take equity out of my house because that's my savings. And if it's a short-term thing, then they think, oh, I'm going to be able to catch up. But when something like we have going on right now, where you're really not in control of all the factors that have made the big change in your cash flow, then to think, oh, we're going to be able to catch up, it's a little more difficult. So sometimes if you make a better decision now, if your income does change for whatever reason, or you're able to address some of your expenses, which is also a journey people need to walk through sometimes when they're going through this process, then if you have done something like a refinance, then at least you can make additional payments on that mortgage and bring down the debt that way. And it's going to be at a much lower interest rate. So I think if people, like you said, get over the shame, then it's so much easier to deal with this. Now, I know you were wanting to talk also about another circumstance with debt consolidation you were mentioning earlier when we spoke.
Yeah, I'll give you a few more scenarios. So
Okay, perfect.
For a lot of people right now, when we talk about refinancing, we don't want to touch their mortgage that's in first position because it has a nice low rate.
Yeah.
And so we look at mortgages in second position or home equity lines of credit. And what I do for my clients is I obviously try to give them the solution, but if I don't have the solution and I know where it is, I will also recommend where they can go to get that solution. I've done that many times. So it's good to talk to a professional who can have access to a lot of things, but even if they don't have what you need, they know where to send you. Another scenario, I had someone who's self-employed and they had not done their taxes, and you're going to have a lot of trouble getting a mortgage if you haven't done your tax. If your taxes aren't up to date, they were behind by a couple of years, but they had a lot of equity in their home and they have an exit strategy. So we were able to use an alternative lender that, we try to avoid, but in their case, without taxes filed, we really didn't have any choice. So, and it's going to meet what they need for the short term. And they have an exit strategy. They're going to be selling their house. So they're going to be totally fine. And they still have tons of equity. So in that case, it made sense. I also have access to a company that will refinance your car loans. So if your payment is too high, we can look at reducing that. If you have a corporation and your car loan required you to have a personal guarantee, they can get rid of that personal guarantee. So I'm excited about working with that company to help clients in certain circumstances. And even in a bad case, I can help you honestly within 5 minutes. I can help you know in a terrible case when you need to talk to a bankruptcy trustee, which doesn't mean you'll go bankrupt because they also do consumer proposals. But if there's no equity in your home and it's getting out of control, it's great to face it. It's great to deal with it. And there are people that can help in those situations as well.
Yeah, I loved when you were talking about that, because not everybody thinks of those options, or it becomes to them in their mind like a last resort. But having somebody like you where they can go, they're going to be received with a lot of compassion and empathy, and they're going to have the full menu of options of things that are available. And then they can kind of see what the right fit is for them based on the scenario. So sometimes just like talking about it and getting the right advice is the way to go. So, do what you like to do. Obviously look on the internet, but I think Kim is really correct here. It's not helpful in this circumstance because you're not going to find the best solution probably. And sometimes there is just like a really great solution. And I don't think people realize just how common this is. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. I love the car financing piece, because when you actually look at budgeting and when people start to break apart their budgets, it's actually incredible how much of a part of their income their car loans are. So having that additional option, I think, is going to be really helpful for everybody. So thank you. Do you have anything else to add to this topic? I know we have a few more topics planned. So if you guys like this kind of content, please, obviously follow my social accounts, and then I'll have this posted on my website as well. And Kim might have this on her website as well. And we can certainly connect by Zoom or by phone to do quick consultations just to see, if we can help you in any way. So please do reach out.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Kim. Have a great day. Take care.